Hello and assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the fourth episode of Kappa Conversations. I'm Farah Kashif, and today we are tackling a topic close to many hearts, the juggling act of working and raising kids. And who better to guide us through this than the amazing Zehra? Zehra, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
We are very pleased to have you, and you're working mom, and not just any working mom, you double job. So tell us a bit about your journey and what actually inspired you, to take on this double duty.
Well, thanks again for having me, Farah. It's a pleasure
My
talking to
pleasure.
you. And
Sorry.
basically, I'll start with a bit of my background, right? So,
Mhm.
I am, as you can imagine, from Pakistan. So, I've been raised in Karachi most of my life, with a
Okay.
little bit of my childhood being spent in the UK, but most of it in Karachi after that. And I wouldn't bore you with the details, but eventually ended up doing MBA, which was ironic because both my parents are doctors, but
Okay.
chose that path as so-called easier path in my view, but yeah, facing the consequences now. So after that, the natural next step for me, and I think this has to do a lot with my upbringing as well, and the encouragement and support I got from both my parents, was to look for not just a job but a career in the field that I've chosen after my masters, right? So I basically worked for a little bit in the corporate sector in Karachi for about
Okay.
6 7 months, and
Okay.
then I
Okay.
moved to Ireland for a 1 to 2 year stint to try to get international exposure, which has now resulted in 18 years in Ireland.
18 years, a long time.
Long time, almost a lifetime. So that's kind of the background, my history really. And once you start having kids, you kind of get settled in a place, right? So you don't really think about moving then. And I found Dublin a very welcoming, a very vibrant city, especially very family friendly as well.
I can
Um,
relate to it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're having a similar experience.
Mhm.
Um, Coming to the double jobbing aspect, like I would consider, working in the office as a job, but also working in the house is a job.
It's a
So
job.
some
It's a full-time job.
absolutely in its own right. So that's why I would say double jobbing, to recognize and acknowledge, stay-at-home caregivers, because that is a job in its right.
Mhm.
Understandably, we don't get paid for it, but it's a
I
full-time
can
job. And
understand.
yeah. So calling it any less is demeaning it. And therefore, I would say we're double jobbing if we're working in the office and at home.
In the office and at home. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. And then once you start having kids, there are many years which you continuously evaluate your decision. Take it, whether you want to continue to build your career or just take it as a job, survive, you raise your family, or you continue to do both. And I think I respect both decisions, right? For me individually, it just worked better for me to continue to work and build my career, stay motivated, and then also try and
क्योंकि
juggle.
I have seen people criticize, the women who are very career oriented and वो काफी अच्छे place से आ रही होती हैं, but when they start, their family and they take a break, तो उनको बड़ा बड़ा criticism face होता है from the society itself के मतलब what did she do with herself?
या
So
क्रिटिसिज्म दो तरह का होता है ना फरा, आई मीन एक तरह का ये होता है कि आपने एजुकेशन में अपनी टाइम जाया किया, आई सपोज, एंड यू वेस्टेड योर
हम्म,
सीट एंड डिडंट
हम्म,
कंटिन्यू टू वर्क. But if you
हम्म,
choose to work, then the judgment is कि, oh my god, your kids are probably
हाँ
getting
वाइस
there.
वर्सा वो ऑपोजिट चलता रहता है.
जो एक हमारे यहाँ एक सेइंग है कि लोगों को तो बातें करनी है, तो वो आई
लोग
थिंक
तो बोलेंगे.
right? You have to really block all the noise around you, except
हम्म.
of course from people who you value and
Which
care
is
about.
very difficult, I believe. Yeah.
It takes time, it takes effort, and you just need to over time shed all the negativity that comes your way, reflect it back to the people where it belongs to. Unka baggage aapka nahi. And you just take your feedback from those around you,
Mm.
especially those you value. And I think in this case, jo aapne particular point raise kiya hai, I think the feedback of kids is the most important. And whenever
But
I've had this
how
knowledge,
as a mom, how you are doing as a mom, like how good you are as a mom. Yeah.
एग्जैक्टली, तो मेरे ख्याल में इसकी जज मैं नहीं होनी चाहिए हूँ ना, मेरे ख्याल में मेरे
बच्चे होने
बच्चों से
चाहिए.
एग्जैक्टली, बिकॉज़ जब हम अपने क्लाइंट्स को ऑफिस में सर्व करते हैं, तो क्लाइंट्स आर द बेस्ट जज ऑफ व्हेट हाउ वेल वी आर डूइंग एज़
फीडबैक
अ
इज
कंपनी.
इम्पोर्टेंट. फीडबैक
एग्जैक्टली.
बहुत जरूरी है.
बहुत ज़रूरी है और हर पॉइंट पे ज़रूरी है, और कम्युनिकेशन लेवल्स डिफरेंट होते हैं। छोटे बच्चे
हुँ।
अपनी तरह से कम्युनिकेट करेंगे, आपको हग करके बता देंगे, बड़े बच्चे बहुत एक्सप्रेसिव भी हो सकते हैं। तो जिस तरह ऑफ़िस में आपका ईयरली परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेज़ल होता है, तो आई हैव ट्राइड टू फॉलो द सेम लाइन। आई नो इट साउंड्स अ बिट रिडिकुलस, लेकिन जस्ट टू आस्क माय किड्स एवरी फ्यू मंथ्स, एट लीस्ट वन्स अ ईयर, हाउ एम आई डूइंग? व्हाट एम आई डूइंग
लेकिन
वेल?
ये
व्हाट
बहुत
कैन
अच्छी बात है। एट
या
लीस्ट दे आर बिकॉज़ उनको भी कुछ लगेगा कि या वी आल्सो कैन ऑफर समथिंग लाइक वी हैव व्हाट वी आर थिंकिंग, हमने क्या इस टाइम में फ़ील किया एंड शी इज़ कंसर्न्ड अबाउट हर फीलिंग्स। सो आई थिंक दिस इज़ वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट।
completely agree with you, Farah. And it's also important to hear them out and then value their feedback. So most
हुँ,
of the time, my kids have been super, matlab appreciative of me, which is, and they're kind, which is really nice. I don't think I'm
हुँ,
really perfect as a mom. Nobody is, but it's good that they are much more forgiving, much more understanding than those adults around you. Possibly some of them could be friends or family members, right? मेरा experience largely positive रहा है, शुक्र है.
चलें
लेकिन
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह।
I understand बहुत सारे लोगों का नहीं रहा है, and I
नहीं ना,
obviously am
तो
honest
आपको
with that.
पर्सनली कौन से चैलेंजेस आपने फेस किए इन दिस होल जर्नी?
So, I guess I would start with when the kids were young, yeah. So, time management, I think, is the biggest challenge that you face. So,
हुँ,
there's not simply enough hours in the day to get everything done to a 90% level and 100% level at your office and at your home. Okay?
हुँ,
So, something has to give. So, mere experience mein, and everyone is different, you have to lower your standards a little bit. Okay? So if the goal of the day is to complete a project which is due today and feed the kids, फिर यही है, ठीक है? घर may not be the tidiest thing in the world on
इन
that
द वर्ल्ड।
particular day, ठीक
हुँ,
है ना? तो ये है, तो आपको ये पूरा माइंडसेट शिफ्ट है, because a lot of us, in our college lives, we want to do everything to perfection, but then we didn't have any
हुँ,
responsibilities beyond that one exam, that one degree, right? तो अब तो ये है कि मल्टीपल चीज़ें हैं लाइफ में, people, throw things at you and you juggle, right?
हुँ,
Personally speaking, and there have been studies on it कि multitasking जो है वो लड़कियां ज़्यादा अच्छा करती हैं. The jury is still out. I think it's again a cultural thing. We are groomed to do that. We are thrown in this situation. That's why we do
हुँ,
that. So मेरे ख्याल में, of course, men can also hone those skills. ठीक है,
हुँ,
मगर that helps. Multitasking also helps. तो एक पूरा mindset shift है. Time management. Basically,
हुँ,
उसमें ये है कि you might sometimes be perceived as very robotic. Because my day, at least when the kids were younger, was all planned out. 6 बजे ये करना है, 7 o'clock ये होना है, 8
पूरी एक
o'clock ये होना
रूटीन
है.
सेट होती है। हुँ,
एंड दुनिया हिल जाए, 8 o'clock वही होना है जो प्लान्ड है, राइट?
जो
सो
प्लान्ड है।
आई कांट बी ऑल स्पॉन्टेनियस एंड फन, व्हिच इज़ माय नेचुरल सेल्फ ग्रोइंग अप. पूरा
हुँ,
पर्सनैलिटी चेंज आपको करना पड़ता है कभी-कभी. दूसरी चीज़, आई थिंक you've touched on it, society and its judgment, right? So I wouldn't
हुँ,
talk too much about that. लेकिन उसमें एक cognitive dissonance तो आता है, which is an idea कि आपका वैल्यू और बिलीफ एक सर्टेन है, and then it constantly clashes with the feedback you're getting
यू आर गेटिंग
indirectly,
फ्रॉम आउटसाइड। हुँ,
covertly from people, in your network. तो ये है कि उसको ओवरकम करना पड़ता है. You have to have a thick skin and just
हुँ,
focus on, don't absorb all that negative energy, because वो तो ड्रेन कर देगी आपको. आप दोनों जॉब्स
ड्रेन
बुरी
कर
करेंगे.
देगी।
तो तो ये है. One more thing that I was thinking of the other day, and I thought I'll talk to you about it and how you feel about it,
हुँ,
is the invisible load. ये किताब है, ठीक है? इसके अंदर रिसर्च है जिसमें they have said कि there's a lot of invisible jobs that get done
हुँ,
magically. No
मैजिकली।
acknowledgement. So this is not the routine that we were just talking about. It's like something like planning a birthday party, making
हुँ,
sure कि वो जो regular appointments हैं डॉक्टर्स की हर महीने, they happen. You schedule it, you do it. And that's something that just happens in the background, and it is a load because that
इट इज़
takes a lot of
अलाउड।
planning.
बिल्कुल सही
And
बात है।
and again, I don't want to play the gender game here, लेकिन जो research है वो कह रही है, मैं नहीं कह रही, कि वो a lot of the times this invisible load falls on the woman
द
partner
वुमन।
in the relationship.
हुँ,
ठीक है? And that's changing, I think, because
हम
as
बहुत
we were
सारे दिन में ऐसे काम कर रहे
discussing,
होते हैं जिन्हें हम हमें खुद भी अंदाज़ा नहीं होता कि अच्छा ये भी हमने किया था, ओके ये भी किया था।
exactly, and squeezing time for ourselves as well in the
हाँ,
middle for us. तो ये है, तो मेरे ख्याल में इस इनविजिबल लोड को भी एक्नॉलेज करना चाहिए, एंड इवेंचुअली, इफ नॉट इन आवर जनरेशन, इन द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन,
नेक्स्ट
शेयर आउट होना.
जनरेशन। हुँ,
बिकॉज़ कल्चरल शिफ्ट में टाइम लगता है, तो ये रियलिस्टिक नहीं है कि आप कहें कि भई सडनली टू इनकम
एकदम से तो
फैमिली.
कुछ नहीं होगा। हाँ, बिल्कुल सही
हाँ,
बात है।
सडनली टू इनकम फैमिली होगी तो डायनामिक जो है मेन वुमेन रिलेशनशिप्स में हर एक का different होता है, I understand. If you're married to a friend like I am, it helps.
हम्म
But let's say अगर आपका dynamic अभी change नहीं हुआ है, तो it's okay. I mean, you know, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता, step by step, and in the next generation, I
हम्म
think it will completely change, right? Because the way we are raising our daughters, it's very
it's
different from
different,
how
it's
actually
different
our colleagues
how
have been
we were
raised.
raised, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I was mashallah raised to be very ambitious, which is brilliant, and husband has been super supportive and sometimes pushy on my career,
हम्म
more so you know drive my confidence, which is great. But then मैं तो सबकी बात मैं तो generalize बात भी करूंगी ना आज तो ये है तो I think वो चीज और professionally जो कि मेरे लिए बड़ा weak और sore point है कि I know there's a saying कि women can have it all, लेकिन I don't agree with that. तो एक यूएस सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट है बड़ी फेमस गुजरी मैडलिन ऑलब्राइट उनकी बड़ी हाई
हम्म
पावर्ड जॉब उन्होंने कहा कि वुमेन कैन हैव इट ऑल बट नॉट एट द सेम टाइम तो
हम्म
मैं उससे agree करती हूँ बिकॉज करियर टेक्स अ बैक स्टेप जब यू हैविंग किड्स यू वेरी यंग और वो क्रंच टाइम है कि उस वक्त आपको आपके करियर पे भी फोकस करना है
करना
बिकॉज
है
दैट्स
और
व्हेन यू
बच्चों को भी संभालना है।
बच्चे भी सबसे ज्यादा टेंशन उनको आपकी चाहिए होती है एंड करियर को भी उस वक्त इफ यू डोंट गिव इट एटलीस्ट सम अटेंशन तो वो फिर वो भी यू
वो
नो
भी वैसा
गायब
नहीं
हो
रहता।
the crunch time and if you can manage that and survive at your job I say you know I just survive at my job at that stage just keep it going kisi tarah to phir then you can shift your focus back when the kids are a bit older on your career as well
I
that's
think
been
husbands, if your husband is very supportive, like husbands play a very supportive role. Like if I talk about you in your journey, obviously, if your husband wouldn't have supported you, you wouldn't have been able to do all this, because not every woman gets to have a very supportive husband. तो जैसे आपने कहा कि जनरली बात करते हैं तो बहुत सारी ऐसी लड़कियां हैं जिन्होंने अपने करियर की पीक पे या लाइक आफ्टर डूइंग अ लॉट दे took a break and they started looking after their family, their kids, because their husbands were not supportive enough.
hmm. पर इन दैट केस मेरे केस में वो ब्लैक और व्हाइट बहुत ज्यादा था कि मेरा जो मैंने करियर चूज किया था वो है या कुछ नहीं है
या कुछ
आजकल
नहीं
की
है।
जनरेशन में आई थिंक दिस अ लॉट ऑफ फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी यू नो द बिग टेक इज आउट देयर गिव्स यू अ लॉट ऑफ
हम्म
फ्लेक्सिबल जॉब्स एंड पीपल कैन यू नो डू अ लॉट ऑफ आई डोंट नो वेब डिजाइनिंग ऑल दीस काइंड ऑफ डिफरेंट थिंग्स राइट व्हिच गिव्स यू अ लॉट मोर फ्लेक्सिबल ऑप्शंस
हम्म,
I'm really inspired by you for I mean you know you being an influencer on Instagram keeping things
थैंक
going
यू।
while you look for a stable career तो वो
या
अब if I want
वो
to if I want to take
फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, हाँ, वो नहीं आ सकती, सही बात है, नॉट इन एवरी जॉब।
कहानी में नहीं थी और या फिर मुझे पता नहीं था ठीक है तो I just stuck to the 9 to 5 job which is never 9 to 5 right it's always 9 to 7 or 8 sometimes तो वो है तो I think it's good things are changing husband should be supportive as well लेकिन अगर नहीं भी हैं तो gradually आप उसको मतलब pivot कर सकते हैं right थोड़ा tweak कर सकते हैं जिस काम में आप थोड़ा सा बेहतर है घर से करने में and stuff like that you
तो
can
आप उस
make your
तरह
way
से अपनी तो
कुछ ना
what
कुछ
about
things
the what about the impact on your children? Like, how do you, navigate this work-life balance with, prioritizing their needs and their well-being as well?
I don't have a perfect answer, but balance is a very good word. I haven't found the perfect balancing act. I'll be very honest, right? I mean,
Hmm.
at times you're working late and you have to travel for work. तो अगर आप उस वीक को इवैल्यूएट करेंगे आइसोलेशन में तो कोई बैलेंस नहीं है. You're focusing on work pretty much.
Hmm.
But then I make sure that when I come back and you know things are a bit calmer, I take work time out from work. I compensate by taking them out for lunch or you
Hmm.
know spending time with the family and stuff.
This
तो
is
फिर
what
उस वक्त
actually kids want.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
kids, as I said, are much more forgiving than society sometimes can be. After a week, if I come home with a teddy bear from you know London, if I've been there, and just some chocolates and a hug, right? तो बस
Hmm.
उनको यही I mean, you know उनको कोई बहुत बड़ी कोई चीज़ नहीं चाहिए होती है. आपकी थोड़ी सी अटेंशन चाहिए होती है.
थोड़ी सी अटेंशन
Um,
चाहिए होती है, थोड़ी सी उनको आपकी लिसनिंग चाहिए होती है। इन लाइक दैट टाइम यू आर टोटली फोकस्ड ऑन देम, नो स्क्रीन्स, नथिंग, एंड यू जस्ट
yeah.
लिसनिंग टू देम, यू ऑल ears. So
हाँ, और
this is
feedback,
what
as I
kids.
said, is a humbling experience sometimes. Recently, I got feedback from my daughter, जैसे कि 90% तो अच्छा ही होता है, पर उन्होंने ऐसी सोच के कहा कि you don't listen as much during the day when I'm talking to you. And I took that on board and I said, fair enough, that is true. But usually when I'm picking her up from school and she has all the chat, I'm on a meeting at the same time.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, what's the action here? How do we resolve this, right? So we just picked a time in the evening where it'll be completely me and her time and she will chat to me for
This
20
is the
minutes if
best
that's
thing कि आपने उसका solution ढूंढ लिया.
और उसको फॉलो
बजाय
थ्रू भी
इसके कि गिव हर अ कॉल दैट नो, इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट, लाइक दिस इज व्हाट या
किया।
कि
कभी कभी
आपने उसको सॉल्व
इंस्टिंक्चुअली,
सॉल्व कर लिया उस प्रॉब्लम को।
बिल्कुल, कभी इंस्टिंक्चुअली आप डिफेंसिव भी हो सकते हैं, जिस तरह आप एडल्ट रिलेशनशिप्स में होते हैं बच्चों के साथ भी, कि नहीं नहीं, आई एम गिविंग इनफ टाइम व्हाटएवर, लेकिन आई ट्राई नॉट टू डू दैट, एंड इट हैज टेकन अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम फॉर, आई मीन इट्स नॉट दैट आई बिकम दिस इवॉल्व्ड पर्सन ओवरनाइट,
बट यू
राइट?
आर
आई मीन
बीइंग ऑनेस्ट, दिस इज
बीइंग
रियली गुड। हम्म।
हाँ। एंड लास्टली जो आपने बात की चैलेंजेस की, आई थिंक उसमें यू हैव टू स्टेप बैक एंड बी काइंड टू योरसेल्फ, ठीक है? आई
हम्म।
मीन यू हैव टू टेक टाइम फॉर योरसेल्फ एंड रियलाइज कि यू कांट बी एवरीथिंग टू एवरीवन एट द सेम टाइम। तो
हम्म।
बियॉन्ड दैट, आई मीन यू शुड मेक द स्मॉल थिंग्स काउंट,
हम्म।
मेक अ बिग deal about small little things like their achievements, and then do the best you can. Really, that's what my experience has been, and so far it's been good. Yeah.
कभी ऐसा हुआ जैसे
Hmm.
मतलब अक्सर आपने सुना होगा, मैंने भी बहुत देखा है कि अक्सर मदर्स जो है वो कह रही होती हैं कि या आई वाज इन मॉम गिल्ट, मैं यहाँ अकेली चली गई तो ओ दैट वाज अ मॉम गिल्ट। तो कभी ऐसा कोई एक्सपीरियंस हुआ जहाँ पे आपको लगा हो कि या इट वाज लाइक मॉम गिल्ट टाइम फॉर मी और एनीथिंग लाइक दैट?
Yeah, yeah. When my kids were very young, especially my daughter Serena, so I had to travel for work quite a lot at that time in my job. So the first time I left her, and then she was upset when I was not there. Definitely a big time, for guilt. But
हम्म।
again, like I say, I try to be kind to myself, and I can do only what I can do. So I came home and I try to compensate for that. लेकिन अब जो है, when my kids are a bit older, this mom guilt thing is settled down a bit more, which is good.
विच इज गुड।
So, and again, I constantly check in with them. I think it's something that never goes away completely, Farah. Like, I think it evolves over time, and if you hit their milestones, if you're there for when it's important, then
देन वो
you should.
उनको हो जाता है कि पेरेंट्स आर देयर फॉर अस।
Exactly. I think you are the one who feels worse than they would do, right?
दे वुड
It's
डू
like
एग्जैक्टली।
public speaking. You focus on the mistakes you make when you're speaking in public, but nobody really notices it except you. You're the harshest critic of yourself, right? So वही
एग्जैक्टली।
mom हाँ, तो
तो
ये है।
आपको क्या लगता है कि सपोर्ट सिस्टम्स का क्या मतलब एक रोल है? व्हाट रोल डू सपोर्ट सिस्टम्स प्ले, लाइक योर फैमिली, फ्रेंड्स और child care? If you like you were telling that your kids were younger at that time while you started working, so what was the support from the child care or anything which you think that it has played in your journey and it is very important?
Right. So when I first came to Ireland about 17 years ago, childcare was not as hard as it is now. So you could get places a little bit easier in your
अभी तो
local
कोई
creche.
जो क्यूज है यहाँ पे, मतलब you can't
Oh, I know.
imagine 3 years, 2 years, 3 years.
I know. As soon as you become pregnant, you put your
हाँ,
name down,
you
right?
exactly.
Pretty much. तो स्कूल का भी इतना ज़्यादा इश्यू नहीं था। तो दैट वाज़ आई वाज़ लकी दैट वे। बट ऑब्वियसली इफ यू से कि ठीक है, अब जब मिल गया चाइल्ड केयर सपोर्ट सिस्टम, तो दैट हैज़ हेल्प्ड, बिकॉज़ आई वाज़ वेरी काइंड ऑफ nervous or concerned about leaving my small children who can't
Hmm.
communicate to a
With
certain degree
someone,
with yeah, one on one with someone, especially अगर आपकी यहाँ फैमिली नहीं है, जो कि biggest hurdle है for
biggest
expats,
hurdle
right?
है।
हाँ, तो they can't come and check in, randomly on the child care
जो कि
or
ये
child.
इशू पाकिस्तान में नहीं है। पाकिस्तान में अगर आपकी नानी दादी बच्चों की हैं तो फिर आप
I
वहाँ
know.
पे इजीली अपने बच्चों को छोड़ सकते हो।
एग्जैक्टली। तो इस वजह से आई वेंट फॉर द बेस्ट ऑप्शन आउट हियर, व्हिच वाज द चाइल्ड केयर क्रैश सिस्टम। तो दैट
हम्म।
हैज वर्कड आउट वेल। ऑफ कोर्स किड्स वर एग्जॉस्टेड समटाइम्स, beyond their energies, because they were young, but we just struggled and went on with it, and then they started enjoying it eventually. So that has been a big help.
बिग हेल्प।
Other big help. Other than that, I think you should make time for yourself, or spending time with your partner, your husband. So वही child care system में, the kids were very familiar with the childminders there, because they
हम्म।
used to spend the day there. So whoever they liked the most, we would pick as a babysitter as well, if we needed to go out in the night sometime on the weekend. So that has been helpful. Other than that, it's just you and your husband, not the child care.
नॉट द चाइल्ड केयर एग्जैक्टली। तो कभी आपको ऐसा लगा कि आपकी प्रोफेशनल लाइफ जो है वो लाइक आपकी पर्सनल लाइफ में बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरफेरेंस हो रही है, या पर्सनल लाइफ की वजह से आप कोई ऐसी चीज़ है जो आप अपनी प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में करना चाह रही हैं लेकिन कर नहीं पा रही? एनी हर्डल्स यू फेस्ड लाइक दैट?
Definitely. So, मेरे line of work में I'm in the financial sector. So a lot
Hmm.
of it is to do with perception, putting your hands up for new projects, new and initiatives. So again, if you're constantly trying to juggle work and leaving work at 5 and all of that, तो वो impact तो आता है. You can't put your hand up for the next big thing, right?
Next big
Sometimes
thing.
when the kids are younger. And एक natural disadvantage जो है वो ये है कि in our line of work and in many organizations, you only get promoted if you work the full year. ठीक
Hmm.
है? And now
Okay.
the implication of that. If you've had 2 kids, you've probably
Hmm.
not worked years for 4 years because 1 साल आप प्रेग्नेंट हैं, दूसरे साल आपका बच्चा एंड मैटरनिटी लीव था। तो
Maternity
वो
leave है, हाँ, obviously.
हाँ, so that's the thing. So then you are making that, I wouldn't say sacrifice, मतलब choice ही choice समझ लें, to, downgrade your career a little bit and not push yourself as hard on those years, for the promotion or for next big projects, more exciting roles, which would make you more visible in the organization. तो वो
Hmm.
है. But that's something I've been comfortable with because it was a choice. Like,
It was a
like
choice,
it's a choice that you're prioritizing family life over career in those particular years, and
which
that
is good. Hmm. Which is fine.
you make your peace with it. You don't become bitter because of it, because again, everything's back to what you chose in your life, right?
What you
So
chose.
now, yeah, the world is open. I can do more things. I can learn German, which I'm trying to do now. Just try
Wow,
to be
that's
open.
nice.
No, I'm horrible at it, but because it's a language skill, so I was
नहीं,
like,
लैंग्वेज
okay,
सीखना तो किसी भी उम्र, कोई भी आपकी एज हो, लैंग्वेज
exactly.
सीखना इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, या
It uses a different part of your brain now, so it
इन
activates your thoughts a bit, in a different light than what you do in a
डिफरेंट,
normal. Exactly. So it's been
एग्जैक्टली।
interesting. Yeah.
तो आपको मतलब ये ऐसा लगता है कि आपको कोई ऐसे बेनिफिट्स हुए ये दोनों काम करके, फैमिली लाइफ और जॉब भी, अगर आप सोचें कि यू वुड हैव लेफ्ट योर करियर, तो चीज़ें
Hmm.
कैसे डिफरेंट होती, लाइक अभी आपको क्या उससे ऐसे फायदे मिले जो शायद आप जॉब ना करती तो ना होते।
Okay. The first thing is that I was always very clear that kids will need me for a certain amount of time, and then they will, of course, start to have their own life, right? And I'm
हम्म।
already seeing that with, especially my son, and as my daughter grows older, they have their own set of friends, their own set of activities, and they need me less and less, and would
अब या
probably once they
एज दे ग्रो ओल्डर
college
ऑब्वियसly, या
okay. So you need to have something to fall back on if you don't want to be clinging on to your children
हम्म।
as being your whole life, right? It's part of a big part of your life, but you should have something else productive to rely on once you're kind of easing off on those parental duties. So that
हम्म।
I found very useful from a career perspective, because since I have invested in it over the years, kept pinched at it bit by bit, so I have something to fall back on. And again, I took on a new role last year, which I wouldn't have done when my kids were younger, because it involves, again, trying to prove yourself, learn something different. So that is something that then was available because I spent that many years in a current role.
करंट
So
रोल।
definitely, it's been valuable in terms of self, satisfaction, self improvement, but also from a grooming perspective, right? I'm in a new country. What's the best way of meeting, the locals? ठीक है, you can meet for coffees and stuff, but really deep in interactions, engagements, understanding how they live their lives, how do
दे
they
लिव
raise
देयर,
children.
वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट, या
तो लर्निंग फ्रॉम दैट आल्सो, तो वो इंटरेक्शन बिकॉज ऑफ वर्क मुझे मिला है, तो आई कैन से कि दैट ग्रूमिंग हैज बीन क्वाइट वैल्यूएबल एज वेल टू मी, एंड यू फॉर्म देन अ सेट ऑफ फ्रेंड्स दैट यू कैन रिलाई ऑन एंड टॉक टू about your kids as well, because everyone's going through the same thing even at your workplace and have a similar situation to you. And I know people who are not working can form networks with other
वो
non-working
नहीं हो
moms.
सकता।
That's
हम्म।
great. But for me, I'm finding it very hard to just go into a park and start talking to women who have
टॉकिंग टू
kids.
समवन।
हाँ, तो वो वर्कप्लेस से बड़ा नेचुरल सा एक वो एनवायरनमेंट होता है जिसमें यू ऑब्वियसली वर्क टुगेदर एंड देन यू टॉक
देन
अबाउट
यू टॉक
समथिंग
अबाउट स्टफ, हाँ, फिर आपकी वैसी दोस्ती हो जाती है कि यू कैन शेयर योर स्टफ विद देम, और आप फिर रिलेट भी कर सकते हो क्योंकि आप लोग मतलब सेम उससे फेस से गुजर रहे होते हो।
एब्सोल्युटली. एंड देयर वाज एन आर्टिकल रिसेंटली जिसमें उन्होंने बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट बोला कि आई थिंक व्हेन इन योर 30s एंड 40s दे वर सेइंग यू स्पेंड मोर टाइम विद पीपल इन द ऑफिस देन यू डू विद योर स्पाउस.
विद योर स्पाउस, एग्जैक्टली।
Obviously, then now, again, if you're feeling, low, yeah, you have an issue, though you can obviously then
वो
strike
आप
those
उनसे ज़्यादा
conversations.
रिलेट कर सकते हैं और आपको उनकी ज़्यादा अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो जाती है कि हाउ दे आर, एंड यू गेट टू लर्न अ लॉट फ्रॉम देम एज वेल।
Absolutely. So it's personal development and growth as well, which is important apart from, obviously the family that you're raising. That's what I've
Okay,
gotten out of it.
so before we close, what message would you like to share with other working parents, especially those who are considering the same, like double duty, double jobbing? They are, having a family as well, and they want to, go for their career as well. They don't want to be a stay-at-home mom or a
Hmm.
non-working parent. तो उनके लिए आपकी क्या मतलब ऐसी कोई मैसेज होगा कि what they should focus on, anything?
आई थिंक आई जस्ट गो बैक टू द बेसिक्स राइट, चाहे वो वर्किंग मॉम हो, चाहे वो केयर गिवर, प्राइमरी केयर गिवर घर पे हो, आई थिंक वन वर्ड इज चॉइस, विच इज वेरी एम्पावरिंग.
Hmm.
इफ इन लाइफ यू ऑलवेज फील कि सराउंडिंग की वजह से मैं ये कर रही हूँ, लोगों की वजह से मैं ये कर रही हूँ, मेरी तो कोई चॉइस नहीं है, तो यू विल
मतलब वो
ऑलवेज फील
सोसाइटल प्रेशर नहीं लेना चाहिए कि मैं इनकी वजह से कर रही हूँ।
really self-evaluate and know yourself, and which takes years, right? Sometimes you don't know exactly what you want,
व्हाट
your
यू वांट टू
motivation.
डू।
And that also changes over the years. So keep evaluating and then make sure you know what you want, block out the
राइट।
noise, and then make that choice and stick to it. That's very empowering. Because something which I've chosen, चाहे वो path difficult भी होगा, तो मुझे होगा हाँ मैंने choose किया ना, तो let me follow through, let me achieve it,
हुँ।
and keep going.
क्योंकि
So
अगर आप
choices.
किसी के कहने में आकर करते हो तो आई थिंक वो कंसिस्टेंसी वो चीज़ आप कर नहीं पाते हो विद टाइम। यू
वो
फाइनली
passion.
वांट टू गेट रिड ऑफ इट कि ये मैंने क्या कर लिया।
Exactly. Like maybe थोड़ा सा controversial हो जाए topic, लेकिन young mothers, like people who have no like active choice in marriage
हुँ,
or having kids. तो ज़ाहिर बात है, you see that a lot of frustration in those kind of
ऐसा होता है।
mothers, स्पेशली जो हमारी कंट्री में है सिचुएशन, काफी लोगों की जिनका नहीं है एक प्रिविलेज चूज करने का. तो आई नो चॉइसेस कैन बी टफ इन लाइफ समटाइम्स, बट इट्स स्टिल एन एक्टिव चॉइस. मतलब आई जस्ट थिंक यू शुड रिकग्नाइज दैट एंड कीप मूविंग. और बीच में डिस्ट्रैक्शंस बहुत आती हैं, तो फोकस ऑन द एंड गोल ना, कि यहाँ पहुंचना है, चाहे वो फैमिली का गोल है या वर्क का गोल है. तो दैट्स वन थिंग. एंड देन लास्टली आई जस्ट थिंक आई हैव अ सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर अबाउट एवरीथिंग. लर्न टू laugh about stuff that happens.
दैट
Yes, mommy
हैपेंस।
was careless today, she forgot to pack your lunch. Can happen, right? So
कैन
just have
हैपन।
a sense of humor about it, laugh about things, especially जब आपके ऊपर बहुत negativity आती है, और पहले आप offend होते हैं, फिर आप sensitive होते हैं, फिर आप desensitize हो जाते हैं, and then just laugh about it. I think that makes any
दिस इज़
situation
द
in life.
परफेक्ट
Yeah,
सॉल्यूशन।
exactly, Farah. And I think
वी
you have a
ऑल
good
वी
sense
ऑल
of
मेक
humor.
मिस्टेक्स, या वी ऑल मेक मिस्टेक्स, तो उन पे हँसना कोई बुरी बात तो नहीं है।
बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. In fact, it makes light of the situation, और वो इतनी intensity उसकी
आप उस चीज़
diffuse हो
को इतना
जाती है.
लाइट कर दो सिचुएशन को कि वो लगे ही ना कि इट वाज़
कुछ है.
समथिंग हॉरिबल।
एग्जैक्टली. एंड देन माउंट एवरेस्ट एक दिन में तो नहीं चढ़ते ना, स्टेप बाय स्टेप प्लानिंग से होता है, मैन्यूवरिंग से होता है.
यू हैव
पाथ
टू
में
टेक बेबी स्टेप्स, एग्ज़ैक्टली।
स्टेप कर लिया, तो इसी तरह बस चलता है. आई हैव नॉट हैड अ वेरी प्लान्ड जर्नी, बट इट्स जस्ट सीम्स दैट वे. लेकिन इट्स वर्कड आउट समहाउ,
No, it
मैनेज्ड
has
सो.
worked out for you, mashallah, because you see that, you never left your career, and you have a good family life as well. You are there for your kids, and you are working as well. So it's great.
It's a continuous journey, Farah, and I hope I continue to inspire you, and you continue to inspire me with your new thoughts and energy and ideas that you brought to the forum today as well.
Inshallah, inshallah. It was lovely having you, and we
Pleasure.
can catch up on some other topic very soon again, inshallah.
Sure, I'm happy to talk on anything.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Allah
you,
Hafiz.
thank you. Allah Hafiz.